everyone, this is Christian Spletzer again. Today we're continuing our 8 stages of successful retained search webinar series. And we're talking about stage 3, setting the strategy. This is about after you've won the work and how you set the strategy, how you set yourself up for success. So we're going to cover setting the strategy, finding benchmarks to help you move the project along with your client, calibrating with your client so that you are on the same page, and then ultimately defining the job spec so that you and your team can go out to market. So again, you'll remember we break search down into these 8 stages. Today we're talking about stage 3. So we want to establish the research strategy and the candidate criteria so that the team can move forward on the execution of the search project mandate effectively and efficiently. This is your roadmap to success. Key is the research strategy. It all starts here. This is a step that people can sort of skip over and figure that they can define as they go. But it's really important once you've won that contract to establish the research strategy up front. This is often done in the kickoff meeting that you have with your client, where you really get down to the nuts and bolts of what good looks like and how you're going to go get there. It's going to ensure that you and your client are on the same page, not only on what a good profile looks like, but expectations around the project itself and how you're going to work together and what the cadence of meetings will be and what they should expect. But really key is what does good look like and where you're going to look to find it. So setting the strategy, you're establishing expectations, you're defining who you're looking for, and you are looking, or at least defining with a little bit of clarity and objectivity, what good looks like. And this is where you're going to find where you're looking for. So setting the strategy, establishing expectations. Search is a collaborative process. It's not just, a VP of marketing is not a VP of marketing. It all depends upon the need, the company, the timing, the market. So you want to make sure that you are completely transparent and collaborative with your clients so that you understand what they want and they understand what's possible. You want to be as detailed and specific as possible so that you're able to establish a clear set of expectations that upfront in the project and throughout. That starts with defining who you're looking for any given project. That can be answered by looking at what is this person going to do? What's the role entail? What are they responsible for? Does the client have goals that they are expected to accomplish for this person? This leads to asking the question to a client that may seem a little strange, but this concept of good candidates. Oftentimes was working with clients or even partners within my old firm where they would say, go find me a good candidate. Go find me a great candidate. I know good when I see it. That doesn't work in search. That is, you're chasing your tail. It is a completely subjective definition. So getting to that next layer, what does good look like? What kind of candidate is needed? What's their background? What type of experience do they have? These are objective criteria that you can set up at the very beginning. So does this person work at this company is a black and white yes or no versus they got to work at a good company. Again, that doesn't help you or your researcher determine if the person that they're looking at, the profile they're looking at during the research stage actually meets the client's expectations. So take the time to map this out. What does good look like? Define it, break it down, refine it if you're not getting a client to take the time to really think about this. It is crucial to the efficient and effective execution of your search project to define this. So then once you've defined that, you got to figure out where to look. What companies are relevant to this search? Are you looking at competitors? Are you looking at the industry? You're looking at particular companies within a market? On the other side of that, are there companies that your client does not want to look into? I was very proud on a project I worked on years ago. I was able to find a great candidate. Again, there's that subjective qualification, who was on my target list of companies that I presented to my client. I was able to engage with their, the head of function for the role we were looking to fill. This was the first company on the list. I sent the profile to the client, told him that this candidate was engaged. The client called me up yelling because he said that he had a do not recruit agreement with this company. I didn't ask the question. The company list that I presented to him for the review and sign off, this was the first company on the list. However, even though it was on the list, client's always right, and I had to backpedal on that one gently. I didn't ask the question up front in the kickoff, are there any companies that should be excluded? Don't make that mistake. It may seem implied when you present a client a list of companies to sign off on that they'll actually do the review, but continue to cover yourself and ask the extra question. In addition to this list, is there anyone that we shouldn't be looking at? You can build these lists by looking at industries. You can look at industries or competitors or what's in the marketplace. So, identifying this is part of the research piece you did before you actually had the pitch meeting in the win work stage we talked about last time. Part of your research is what industry is this company in and what are the companies within it. So you should have the initial piece of research on this company list that you can actually apply to your strategy. There may be more, but this is everything you do for any project and these 8 stages accrues. You are able to leverage all the work you do from the very beginning. So what industries are relevant, you should have the makings of that list when you walked into that pitch meeting. Benchmarking. Benchmarking profiles is a crucial step in the search process because you are getting feedback from your client. You want to document the candidate criteria that your client keys in on as good or bad right at the beginning with benchmark. It's easier to do it with a benchmark than it is to do it with a real candidate person that you've engaged with later on. And have it go back to them and say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't actually know what we were looking for. That's not a good way to run your practice or ingratiate yourself with the candidates and your clients. You can look at previous candidates in your database that write-ups you may have done, people that you can speak about in terms of their experience, what they would bring to the table. Doesn't mean you're presenting them to your client, and you should make that clear when you're benchmarking. You can say, I know this person, let's look at their profile. Hey, this is actually an example write-up I did, if you want to go that far. But using previous candidates that you know on relevant searches will help you speak intelligently about them and be informed on their background, but free you up to listen to your client's feedback. And it will also, the added benefit is that your client will understand that you actually, just reaffirm that you work in the space because you're presenting people you know. Present potential candidates who meet this criteria. Well, later on, once you start surfacing people, you're going to be able to speak to their experience and how they calibrate against the benchmarking session that you had during this kickoff. So you are right away jumping in and with relevant candidates that you can speak to and listen for your client's feedback in that benchmarking session and apply it to your presentation later on. So calibrating with your client is crucial. You're going to present a number of different benchmarks. Don't just present one, give them a couple options and different profiles so that you can get that feedback. What do they like? What do they not like? Then you want to document. You want to make sure you're taking notes or someone on your team's taking notes, and you got to put it somewhere. Make sure that it resides with your project management solution, whatever that is. We recommend to our customers to put this on the project in Clockwork so that the team really understands what the client is looking for. So document that feedback. You're going to be engaged on this project for a while. Memories fade, but key in on what the client likes. And it's also something you refer back to if you get a few weeks in and start presenting candidates who match those criteria, and your client says, no, I don't want that. You can refer back to that documentation that you created where you were saying, well, actually, in our kickoff meeting, you said this. Has that changed? You're not confronting them to prove to be right, but you are presenting them with their own words so that you're getting clarification. Remember, oftentimes when companies are kicking off a project, their understanding of the role is as murky as yours may be, and they're hoping to figure this out as they go. The faster you can get clarity, and the faster you can cement in their minds what they're looking for, the quicker you can execute. It's less trial and error and more of a process that you can deliver upon. And again, if you have that change in client expectations or what they hope for in the role, you can refine that strategy as you go. But if you are documenting it, you are actually refining it. And you are calling this out. This is an edit to our research strategy. We're looking in different companies. We're looking for different skill sets. We're looking for different backgrounds. All of that should be there in your project execution, project management solution. Ultimately, this leads to you defining the job spec. You need a job spec. It needs to accurately describe the role, and it also needs to attract the right candidates. This is a sales document. You are putting it out there in the marketplace with the candidates you approach to intrigue them in the role. You're also using it to help them self-select in or out based off of what's there. Again, VP of marketing is not a VP of marketing. You can leverage some work that you've done in the past in relevant spaces, but you've got to take the time to specifically define it for that individual role. So first question is, who's writing the job spec? Oftentimes companies will try to recruit themselves and they'll develop it internally. Does that job spec still apply if that's the case, or does it need to be edited, or do you need to start from the very beginning? So can you leverage their work? Can you leverage your own work? Again, you should be pitching work that you've done before, or relevant work. You should have a background in the work that you are working on. So can you leverage some of the job specs you've done? But you can't just cut and paste. Too often recruiters will take that shortcut, and it'll only impede forward movement of the project. What's unique about this position, both from the responsibilities and requirements of the role, but also how do you make this an attractive opportunity to the best candidates? What's the selling points? What are the companies offering? What's their story, their background? What's the opportunity? And ultimately, that once you've defined that, your team can then take that job spec and then bring it to market to start engaging with people who are passive candidates, people who are not actively looking for jobs, who are gainfully employed, who are on the upslope of their career. Those are the people you want to go out and sell. In that job spec, again, that's the self-selection. It's everything. The requirements are there, black and white. And when your team engages and gets them engaged by looking at the job spec, not only are you screening them against the hard requirements, the objective criteria that we talked about earlier, but the soft requirements. What does the client want? What do you think the client wants? What's the personality type, the culture fit? How are they going to mesh with the team? That you can try to spell out in the job spec, but it also is going to come down to the art of retained search, what you're listening for, how you work with the client. Get as much of it as you can. Ask the questions about culture and experience and personality that your client is looking for in this, and document it, add it to the spec, and listen to both your client and listen to your candidates. This is the end of stage 3 on the setting strategy piece of this webinar series. Next is stage 4, the research and research execution. If you're liking what you hear, you can go to Clockwork Recruiting to check out more information and the solutions that we offer. Thanks for showing up. Talk to you soon.